The following episode contains or may contain spoilers. So if you're spoiler sensitive, maybe beware.
Yeah, you sensitive people.
Get out.
No, get in. This is like going to be first rewrite, review.
Woo-wah-woo-woo.
Rewrite, review. Welcome to the Fantom Zone. 3 fans, 1 podcast, and a sea of comics.
Yay.
I'm Noah.
Kayla.
Jared.
Man,
Hey,
you didn't miss a beat.
I know. Good job, guys. We learned something. So today is a celebration of Batman. His 80th birthday is coming up. We thought we'd do.
He still looks great.
Yeah.
He's still kicking. He's swinging from rooftops.
He's just never going to get older than 40.
If it was real, it would be like him and Batman and Beyond.
I don't like that
There's
Beyond. Anyway,
You really don't?
I don't know.
Kayla has 2 speeds. There's no like, it's okay. No, it's just like, this is good or hurting art itself.
Okay, we were talking about, horoscopes and stuff. It's the Scorpio in me, guys. I'm very passionate about
The
things.
sting of Kayla.
Yeah, so before we jump into that, we're going to do a little bit of news flash, kind of go over some of the events that happened this past week.
He still refuses to tell us what they are. So
No, because I want you guys to react.
I don't remember what they are afterwards. So
If I'm like, read all about it, here's the paper, and you're like, oh God, this happened. So that's the point of this thing. So Ezra Miller was talking about the
Flash
crimes.
things?
Yes. Oh, come on.
I don't know.
So he was talking about the Flash movie when he was on a little press tour and behind the scenes thing for Crimes of Grindelwald. And he essentially said the reason why they're so slow to come out with a Flash movie,
Ironically,
is that they're building a world. They're trying to, the Speedster multiverse is the thing that connects DC's multiverse. And so a lot of people were taking that as like, oh, it's going to restart the DC universe because he said this is sparking a new universe. I don't take it that way, but I just think his enthusiasm for it, I'm excited because they're taking their time with it.
that is exciting.
And I think with the Flash, they really need to do that because he's my favorite character, but...
Especially when the character on the surface doesn't really resemble Barry at all.
Exactly. And I think they really need to cater, not necessarily cater the character to the actor, but make sure whatever they put him in definitely fits the role.
Yeah.
This is scaring me a bit, I'll be honest.
Why?
Because I feel like DC's problem thus far is like trying to do this catch-up thing to Marvel. And so whenever DC's like, we're doing this really big thing, I was going to be like, you need to do the small thing well first.
Well, I think they did
agree.
realize that, and that's why they're, Birds of Prey, Plastic Man. Zatanna's apparently getting her own movie.
Yeah.
So and Blue Beetle too. So, I mean, I think they really, when they decided to call it the Worlds of DC instead of the DC EU or whatever, that I think they realized that, like, hey, we can do something different by doing something different.
They're making the multiverse, and Marv Wolfman is going to have to come out of retirement
I swear to
to
God.
bring it all back together.
If he does that, I can't. Nope. Do
Where's
not kill the Flash.
Where's the anti-monitor?
Yeah.
So that is that. So Venom Rider receives death threats over controversial arc story. Donny Cates. Yes. He received death threats from shippers and people. Stop it.
I want to apologize for that right now. I was kind of drunk.
And
And I got his email.
I mean, my whole thing with comics is if you don't like the story, read something else. You can pick up any other Venom comic.
Yeah.
You don't have to read the current one because in 5 years when another writer picks it up, it's just going to change anyway.
I mean, regardless, even if you hate it, like I said, I'm a very passionate person, but I never go out of my way to make a human person uncomfortable because I disagree with the way they're writing the character.
I mean, death threats?
Yeah.
That's insane.
So what was the story? Do you know what the story was? Or
It's
why
with his
they're-
recent, I didn't read the recent issue yet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
with Venom number 11. I saw that Donny Cates posted it on Twitter like, okay, this needs to stop. I've received death threats for blah, 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 blah. And I just think that's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like it, don't like it. But
It also doesn't
go out of your way to send death threats. That's way too much work.
We are against death threats on this podcast. But it's also dumb because they're like, something new happens with the character and fans are like, you're destroying the character. It's like, hey, you still have all those comics back in your, you can read them. If they did something with the character and you went home and all your comics were on fire, like I could see why you're mad, but you can just enjoy the old stuff and that's fine. It's not, the new stuff's not for you if you don't like it.
Mm-hmm. And last thing, Marvel's Black Cat gets her own ongoing series.
Fun.
So I think that's interesting. I think that's pretty cool. They're, they see something in this character that they're finally giving her own series.
I like her aesthetic.
Yeah, it's a good aesthetic.
Maybe they'll distinguish her from the character she is clearly ripping off. That'll be great. And of course,
she is original and never ripped off anybody. What are you talking about?
She looks just like Kite Man. Just like Kite Man. No, I'm just fine. No, I don't know. I'm more power to him. And I'm all about it.
Yeah, that story it's going to lead from Amazing Spider-Man number 16. So,
is this the Nick Spencer one? They're like,
yes.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. So after she crosses the Thieves Guild and all that stuff, then it's going to kind of go into her own little...
a cat motif.
Yeah. Oh,
with the Thieves Guild.
The cat lady at the Thieves Guild. And she's fighting Blas Al Blue. And it's really bad.
Hey, I didn't write it. I'm just the messenger, guys.
No, it's cool.
Yeah, so
I'm all about Felicia. Goodbye, Felicia. That's what I say. Okay.
Oh, God.
You can cut that. Everyone's allowed to cut that.
All right, so we'll get into it. So what we decided to do for Batman's 80th birthday is do like a rewind review. It's really hard to say. I really enunciate that.
Yeah.
Of the Christopher Nolan series.
Ooh.
So we decided to kind of look back on it, talk about our favorite things, talk about some things that were kind of weird even for comic fans. And
can I just say, I'm really excited about this.
We
just lost literally every single listener.
They're excited too.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we will talk about. Before we get into that, I thought we might talk about some of the things that we like about Batman. Like your first experience.
You'll physically have to stop me from talking. I limited it down to one thing that I really like. Is I'm kind of fond of characters that are outwardly stoic, but the Batman comics, a lot of them at least, give the opportunity to get into his brain a little, what he's actually thinking. And he's actually pretty sentimental, especially when it comes to the people that he cares about. So it's kind of one of my favorite things is that on the surface, stoic, Dark Knight. And then, on
that is interesting. He wants to embody fear and instill fear into his enemies.
Yeah.
But then he goes home and he has a bat cow and a son that's running around and all these adoptive kids.
Yeah, exactly. He's really sentimental if you think about it.
That's true. And he keeps Alfred around. So,
yeah. I mean, nice he can be an asshole sometimes, but when he's sweet, he's really sweet.
He cuddles so good.
What about you?
Oh, I know. I thought it was also the first thing. We're going to do the first thing you saw or something like that.
Oh, yeah. What was your first experience with Batman?
I know. I thought about it and I can't remember.
He has been intertwined with most of our generation's life.
Yeah.
What? You can't remember the very first thing?
No, I can't.
Jeez.
I know.
Mine's really embarrassing.
Oh, God.
Please tell us then.
So I swear to God, this is one of my first memories ever. I went to my great aunt's house, is my dad's aunt, and she just always had junk from 80 years. She wasn't a hoarder. She just had kept a bunch of cool stuff.
She was a organized hoarding.
It was an organized hoarding, yes. Oh. And there were these gloves that she had, these leather Batman gloves, or Batwoman gloves, they were ladies' gloves. That is clearly from a Batwoman costume that didn't, or Batgirl costume that didn't make it.
What?
Or whatever. Yeah. And I used to love them. I used to put them on, these lady gloves, and fight invisible crime with them or whatever. So that was my first Batman experience.
Wait,
being Batman.
Yeah. If you like.
They were literally from a bat person costume?
Yeah. It was leather gloves.
And she just wore them
gloves.
for if
no,
it's cold?
she just had them.
Oh.
She wasn't wearing them. I was looking to borrow those.
I think your great aunt's a superhero.
That'd be great. Well, she's dead now, so unless.
Jeez.
No, she had a long life. She's great. She's a great lady.
What villain killed her?
Probably some sort of because her name was Ruby, so probably some sort of Gem Smasher character or something like that. I'm gonna go with Gem Smasher, and if I ever find
the Diamond
that guy,
Cutter.
yeah, Diamond Cutter.
There we go.
Diamond Dallas Page, the wrestler, killed my Aunt Ruby. Okay, and then and really, I just said briefly the animated series. Was like the first really experience, and that's still my favorite Batman property. I even think almost shamefully more than any specific comic.
Like Lego Batman is right
series,
there.
Totally up there. So
that's my first experience with Batman was the animated series.
Oh, and what I like about Batman.
Okay.
I didn't say that. Is that I like the idea that he's like this street level character. He beats people up, but he becomes like this myth or symbol. Yeah. You know, because it's like they're afraid of like in Gotham, like the Bat, and it's like not just a dude with like, oh, he's gonna fight me. It's like with Daredevil, like you don't want to run into Daredevil because they hit you with a stick, or whatever. But with Batman, it's like this entire like the shadows are Batman or whatever. So I think that's really cool.
I mean, he comes out of the shadows.
He brings the shadows with him because he's rich. He has technology to do that.
Yeah, so I mean, mine was definitely the animated series and the older Batman movies.
I'm sorry. Yeah. The animated series is great, but the older Batman movies.
Like Nipple Suit Batman. I loved it when I was little. I didn't know.
Nipple Suit Batman.
That's all. That, Mr. Freeze, and the Penguin are the one things that I remember from those older movies. Like, if I think back what I remember from the older ones, those are the things that stick out the most is Nipples, Mr. Freeze, and Penguin.
And that Mr. Freeze thing is crucial because that's why his nipples were out. It was so cold. They weren't even in the that's just Clooney's nipples got so hard and cold.
What do you like about Batman, Noah?
I mean, I think the thing that I like the most about Batman is that he's always the tactician. He's always the person that has the plan, and he's just a guy. And he became a god.
Through self-discipline.
Yeah, a lot of push-ups.
Money.
And money.
Money definitely
Don't underestimate the money.
But now I think he just has, like... You think the Justice League gets paid? Like, they're funded by somebody? How do they get paid?
They rob banks. No.
They just take the stuff that was already, robbed.
But seriously...
repossess it. It just never makes it back to the bank.
Yeah, but there are so many millionaires and billionaires on that team.
Yeah.
Like, because Cord Industries alone, even away from everybody else. Like
that's
the Blue
true.
Bee, you know what I mean? So they're well funded.
Yeah, but he hasn't been around for a while. Anyway, that's beside the point. How do they make the money? Yeah, but I did, we asked on social media kind of what people's first experience was. And I thought it was really cool to see that across the board, it was the animated series.
Yeah.
That just goes to show you that series had the beats of everything that makes Batman.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite moment from that series? Can you think of one?
Oh, man.
I know it's hard. Just think of the first thing that comes to your mind.
Man-Bat. Like the first one. Like, I don't know why that one it just always sticks with me because it was terrifying when I was little. It was mysterious. Yeah. It was good.
It was fantastic.
I liked it.
I mean, it seems so obvious to say Harley Quinn, but as a little girl, I don't know. She was pretty cool.
Yeah, she's striking.
And also mullet Nightwing is kind of... I wish I could gorge my eyes out.
Oh, season 4, right? When Nightwing got all mullety. Yeah.
I do remember a lot of Poison Ivy and Harley interactions.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think there was one where they were in the mall.
Yeah,
they broke into the mall.
Yeah.
And it was the whole episode about them. It was so good.
Yeah, it was like a Thelma and Louise.
Yeah. And look how they turned out. Now they're happily in a relationship.
Gross. Anyway, honestly, my favorite moment is... You killed Captain Clown.
Oh,
It's I think the first Joker episode. If it's not, it's the one where he's on the boat and he's got the robot clown. I think that you killed Captain Clown. I think that once a month at least.
You think about it?
I have that
in your head.
Yes. Yeah.
He turns around. Who said that?
Because I'll tell you what, we can move on after this. One day I'm going to witness a murder of a clown. We know that's going to happen. And no one's going to know what to say.
Are there clowns anymore?
Well, not now. Because I'm just saying I'm going to know what to say.
You killed Captain Clown?
You killed Captain. Yeah. He died of an aneurysm. Still. Okay. Moving on.
Yes. So we'll jump right into it. We'll go in chronological order.
Yes.
With Batman Begins.
Well, and we said, too, the reason we picked this, the reason we wanted to do the Nolan series was just because it's our generation's definitive Batman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though there's Batfleck, and I know Kayla and I love him and Jared. Okay, he pointed to me too. I mean, he just to kind of make this distinction before we get into it. I think he embodies Bruce Wayne and Batman perfectly.
Yes.
To me, there has not been somebody that does it both.
Yeah.
So Ben Affleck's Batman's awesome. Yeah. But he was in movies that were kind of like either like controversial or like there was other stuff going on that you could disagree with or not like or whatever.
Well, that's one of the reasons I was so bummed is that they recast him before he got to have a solo movie where he was just a really good Batman / Bruce Wayne. And
all we have is that warehouse scene.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he did other like,
we'll
cool
always
things.
Have that warehouse scene.
But I mean, in Justice League, he didn't do, he was always like in a vehicle.
Yeah.
And it kind of just really irritated me what they did with that, but that's totally beside the point.
I didn't think about that. He's the only one that never had a solo movie.
Yeah.
Or solo run.
Well, I mean, you know, Flash and Cyborg haven't either.
No, of all the Batmans, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But anyway, so Batman Begins. So the Nolan movies, which I think we said began in 2003.
It was 5, I think.
2005?
Yeah.
Which I think is only 2 away. Okay. No, but it's a really, really cool reintroduction. And right away in this movie, we're not going to be able to do real, thorough movie analysis, but like just to give a brief overview, if you don't know the story, it's basically Batman's origin.
Also, why don't you know the story?
Yeah, it's good. We're educate yourself.
It was a long time ago, guys.
But basic idea is Batman's parents are killed. He searches. What? Yeah, I didn't want to say anything. I have to say. Anyway, but Batman's parents are killed, and then he travels the globe, ends up in the Far East as a man, trying to find himself and find a way to get the personal strength to avenge the death or do something about it. And he's picked up essentially by the League of Shadows or whatever. And I think that's what they're called, right?
Yes.
League of Shadows in the movie.
Yeah.
League of Assassins in the comic.
I was about to say, no, they're called League of Assassins.
But it's called the League of Shadows. Anyway, so gets trained by Ra's al Ghul. But they want him to be a murderer, an assassin, just like them. So he basically rebels,
denounces that,
burns down the headquarters, and skedaddles.
Fights Liam Neeson.
Before you move on from that part, so when he's training with them, and Liam Neeson,
Leslie Nielsen,
it's not that. So you think that Ra's is the guy that has the Ra's stash and is sitting on the chair, and they're like, "This is Ra's."
That's the idea. Yeah.
So, and then you find out that it's really not. It's
Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
That's Chow Yun-Fat, by the way. I think.
What I want to know is, did he hold auditions for somebody to impersonate Ra's? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, that was the runner-up's prize.
Also, he picked an Asian guy, and they're very different. So
no. I mean, like his character. So, like, was he at the League of Shadows and like, okay, I need somebody to pretend to be me. Let's audition. And he just like,
I think the way they do it is like, you're going to pretend to be me. And if you don't convince me, we're going to kill you. Like they're very,
I mean, I'm glad he had all Raz's ideas in his head when he was talking to him too. Cause imagine like him just killing him. Like, you said the wrong thing.
Well, you said that, but I think it's like a basic script or whatever. Like that's anyway. Okay. So, like it's like the Ranger handbook kind of, they're an
NPC.
It.
They just repeat the same
lines. Exactly. It's like, I'm Ra's al Ghul and I took an arrow in the knee. Okay. Okay. So he comes back to Gotham, finds out Gotham is crime-ridden, which is connected to the same thing that killed his parents or whatever.
Joe
Chill. And then exactly. And then there's what do you call it, like Falcone crime family that's sort of running stuff. But we don't know this, but all the League of Shadows has also infiltrated Gotham and is about to attack and destroy the city because the city's too corrupt, and that's what the League of Shadows is all about.
Essentially like a Sodom and Gomorrah situation.
Exactly.
Like, this city is awful. It needs to
be purged.
Be obliterated.
Yeah. And Batman's got to stop it because he's against it. That's basically the story. And obviously there's cool moments and stuff like that, but there's some stuff that jumps right out about these movies, and it begins with Batman Begins. I think we all, it begins with
Batman Begins.
But this is it's the opposite of the '60s TV show.
Yeah.
In that those characters are so over the top and crazy and extra and flamboyant and chewing the scenery. Everything in this series, and I think it goes through all three movies, is as they're very like subdued.
Yeah.
So Scarecrow in this, Cillian Murphy's character with he's not, whoa, he's not doing that. He's very,
except for when he puts the Scarecrow gas in your face,
and there's
like
and there is a moment where like when they're putting the chemicals into the the water supply, because that's the big plot. It's super convoluted. I don't know why they did this, but like they're going to put chemicals in the water supply that don't work if you drink them, but if you inhale them,
because they knew they could get that dehydration machine. I think that was really cool.
Yeah.
Because nobody would notice there's anything in the water until they turned it into like a gas. Yeah. And then everybody's
it's cool, but what's convoluted about that is they could have just like got like Zeppelins or something and just dropped gas.
But then again, it's not the 60s.
Yeah. No. Well, planes, helicopters, very advanced helicopters. But anyway, yeah. So, there is a moment where they're putting the chemicals and Batman arrives, they can hear him, and he's crouched low. He's like, "It's here, it's the bat." It's very like, it does feel very super villain. But anyway, yeah, so super realistic. They kind of just make this as realistic as it could be while still preserving the basic notions of the characters and stuff like that.
I think they did a very good job on making sure that Batman is meant to be a symbol, and the entire kind of, I think I told you this earlier, the theme of the entire trilogy, to me, and what I think they try to interpret, was saving the soul of Gotham.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like Gotham really becomes a character, which it is.
A vulnerable soul.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a dirty old soul.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you've watched the animated series, Batman and Gotham, they're a relationship. Batman represents what Gotham should be, or the savior of Gotham, and I think they did a really good job with the first one and throughout the entire series of doing that.
For sure. And then I thought what was also cool about it is that they really like take their time building Batman up. Like his training and like him like
spelunking.
Just the gear and like because I forgot this, we watched it again. There's a ski mask iteration.
Oh yeah,
where he's like just running around like a ninja
with a stapler.
Exactly. God. So it's his like early attempts at being a vigilante or whatever. And then also once you get Batman, once like he's got the suit and everything like that, they also do a super slow reveal of Batman. So it's not just one scene; it's like slow.
Where are you?
Yeah. And the warehouse scene, and then that scene where swear to me, or whatever. I mean, it's so easy to make fun of, but that's the most Batman thing we had seen on film in forever.
And also like dropping him from the rooftop and breaking his legs.
Yeah. and
classic Batman.
You have
you torturous man.
and this series too, and we'll obviously get to this. These two villains get somewhat overshadowed because the villains are so amazing in the next film. But really, I think Liam Neeson, fantastic Ra's for me. So much gravitas. And the thing that's important about Raz that I think you really believe here is that he is well-meaning and has this kind of noble intentions. And I think that's super well delivered.
Well, that's definitely a thing you need with Raz.
Yeah. You can't just be we stop the world with our evil.
Yeah, I mean, he's the extremist idea of making a utopia.
Yeah.
Like he's Thanos, essentially. I mean, he's like, just get rid of this stuff, all the corruption, and we'll be fine.
Yeah. And then Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow is a nice little Act 2 villain.
I really like the Scarecrow.
He's very scary.
The Rage is kind of meh for me, but Scarecrow I thought was fun.
I think what's missing with Raz for me is the mysticism behind him.
Yeah.
Like because that's the thing I've always kind of been drawn to him, because he is this big gang leader or kingpin type thing or whatever, but he also is very kind of mysterious and mystical.
Well, they took away all the magic that they could.
Yeah. I was going to say, it was probably a really good interpretation for what they were going for with the whole like grounded reality version.
Yeah.
But like, I always forget about him being in this series unless I watch the first one.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it
does.
does.
I always remember Scarecrow, but Raz is just kind of like, and he was in it.
And Scarecrow is, like I said, does it's cool mask thing. But I love that he doses Batman at one point, and he's Batman goes on the roof and he's like, Alfred, or whatever. And then Alfred gets him, and then Batman's just tripping balls in the back of his car. and then he sounds a lot like Noah did when I picked him up from getting his wisdom teeth taken out. It was great because he was in the car and Noah was like, we gotta stop Penguin. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, okay, we're gonna stop Penguin. It's okay. It was great.
Amazing.
I promised you wouldn't say anything to him. He wanted to record me, and I said, nope.
It was like, no, it'll let Penguin know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely a good start, but it is so different from the other two as far as the beats and how it's done and just the general like tone of it.
You made the point that it's like the next two feel way more like Nolan.
Yes.
Style. And I think what happened is like, okay, we got to make a superhero movie, so let me do a superhero movie. And then...
But how I know how to do a movie best.
Exactly. But I think that he like kind of figured out, once he got the first one, I don't want to be like out of his system, but once he figured out how to kind of make this Batman thing work and get all the stuff on the table, then he was like, well, I can just do that and do one of my kind of movies or whatever. But a lot of the stuff we love about the next two, we almost like it's easy to take for granted they kind of got started here. So like the fighting in this is super realistic. Mm-hmm. At least it's meant to be that way.
And
so
kind
it's
of meh.
Yeah, I mean, so
that's throughout, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Like it or not. I mean, I was watching the Bane fight again, and we'll get to it a little bit. But just in terms of the fighting, it was like, God, it's like really. This is what a fight looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's not like super quick. It's not like super like pow,
dang. Zero superpowers. So the Avengers stuff. Now you watch what Captain America does, as well done as it is. It's like you can't rip a log in half with your hands.
Yeah, I mean you're not punching somebody and they're flying.
There's
Kayla's swooning.
There's nothing in these movies that an MMA fighter couldn't do, and there's something really cool about that.
I like how you mentioned ripping a log in half. It's like that had nothing to do with the fight, but that's like the one
with
thing.
The superhero-y-ness of it, where it's like, yeah,
Kayla's out of commission. The rest of this episode. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll say what I really liked about the movie, and then things that I didn't. I guess that's part of a review. I'm not going to shit on the movie.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody come after me for this.
Yeah.
I already kind of said what I already liked, but I think it is a good introduction. I think it's a good start to, hey, this is what Batman's going to be for the next, I don't know, like 7-8 years type of thing. And
this is this world.
Yeah, and it's very distinct. Like, it's not part of the DC universe. Like, don't expect to see Superman or anything. This is just a story about Gotham. And I thought it was good. As soon as you kind of saw that was put out there, everybody was like, okay, I don't need to see anything else. That's all I want to see. And then my one grievance with it is a little odd, or two grievances. I don't think Rachel Dawes was necessary.
Yeah, why?
They didn't need to have her at all.
She's crucial in the movie.
And I didn't like it only because I felt like they could have just gotten an actual character from the comics.
That's how I feel too.
They could have used Vicky Vale. I mean, I know she's been used before, but why not? Like, why create this childhood friend? I mean, they've made stories where Selena Kyle has been a childhood friend of Bruce. Like, why not do that?
Here's the reason, but it won't satisfy your issue. I think she ends up being this link between the legitimate justice system and Bruce. And I don't just mean in some symbolic way. I mean, he ends up needing later on to talk to like Harvey Dent in later movies. And like, otherwise there would just be Gordon and the rooftop. Now, I'm not saying that it
but that's how it usually is anyway.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's, if you look at the scene she's in, she's usually this connective tissue between Bruce and like the department. So I think that's what Nolan was trying to do. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you could have had Vicky Vale, the investigative reporter that knows the ins and outs of the justice system. I'm just saying there was reasons behind it. I couldn't connect with that character because, one, I didn't really like her. I thought she was unnecessary, and she didn't really stand out to me. I agree. She was more annoying to me.
We were all like, great, more Rachel scenes.
And also, her name gets yelled a lot.
Rachel!
Through the first and second movie. Harvey does it. I'm sure Alfred did it at one point. Bruce does it.
This is a Joker? Rachel.
Yeah. He was more subdued. And I appreciate what he did. What about you, Kayla?
I kind of agree with everything that's been said. My meh, or just outright reviews are Rachel's character. again, why don't you just, pull from the source material?
Yeah.
So many years of characters in there.
And also, for me personally, it's a very mild criticism. Like, I can watch it, but that's just the one thing that sticks out, and I think that speaks volumes to the movie.
Ra's al Ghul was meh, and I thought Scarecrow was awesome. And I thought, and I'm going to talk about this more in the second one, but the supporting characters are so good in this universe. Yeah. Alfred, Lucius, Gordon, again, I will talk about them later, but they are done so well.
Yeah.
I want a few more things before we move on. Just real quick. Is that cool?
She's not moving on. She's saying what she liked about the movie.
Okay, great. Just want to put a pin in that. Sorry.
And I thought the story was decent. It was good. Like you'd said, it's kind of setting up for the whole trilogy's theme of saving the soul of Gotham. So that was aight.
What about you, Jared?
Well,
what's the thing that you don't like?
Cities don't have souls. Can we say that?
Gotham does.
Gotham does.
Yeah. I just like everything. Honestly, I really like this movie.
See, you were confused on why I was like, you should do Batman Begins. And you're like, well, why that one? I'm like, because I know you like everything about it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty flawless. I mean, the criticisms you guys are saying, I don't disagree with. I just they don't affect overall. Like to me, what the achievement of this thing was, because before. So Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman, I love those movies, but I agree that they are pretty campy and very
pretty campy.
But the thing is that Tim Burton never attempted to do anything but make a fun, whimsical Batman
carnival
thing.
Of a movie.
Absolutely, like it or not. Whereas, so it wasn't anybody's head that. You might be able to make movies like, let's do Batman, and you're going to believe Batman could be real. It's like the Superman, you will believe a man can fly. In this case, you're like, there could be a Batman.
Yeah. I mean, if there was no other movie after it, and that was the only one, like it was just called The Batman or whatever, I think it would be flawless. But we are spoiled, and we have two other much better movies that built off of the first one.
Yeah. That
it's really hard to say, that's flawless.
So I'll say that thing I don't like about it a little bit is...
I thought you just did that. What was...
No, that I don't like. Like I like everything. The one thing I kind of am like a little bit... And it's not... I don't like the Scarecrow that much. But I like Scarecrow. I just feel like I could have got more Scarecrow. So
you don't like it, but you do like it.
Think about it. I think Cillian Murphy does this fantastic job.
I know what you're saying.
I like how the world he's in. I really could have used more of a Scarecrow look. You know what I mean? Like a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll talk about it with these other characters, but I think that's the one thing that you have to kind of disconnect from, because it's all of this is so hyper realistic.
Yeah.
That for him to literally be dressed up as a Scarecrow.
No, but he could have had a hat.
It's just, on part of the mask.
Fedora, yeah.
I think that would have been weird.
Yeah, I'm into it. And also, aside. But, yeah, I like how the thing became very, you could see how the ninja thing became, the Batman suit.
All right, so I'm really thankful that I got The Dark Knight, because this is kind of the only one that I really like. Spoiler alert. But I think this movie is as pretty close to flawless as you can get with a superhero movie, especially when it's with one of my favorite characters. I mean, I feel like doing a synopsis of this one is kind of pointless, because if you haven't seen this movie, you're probably not listening to this podcast because you obviously hate yourself and or superheroes. But a brief overview would be...
It's a lot to synop.
Sure. There's a lot so many different moving parts in this film. I guess the main villains... it's Batman having to deal with the Joker for the first time, and the Joker kind of weaving his way through Gotham's underbelly and connecting all of the mob families underneath him. And on the other side, dealing with Harvey and I guess the subplot of doing things I guess how to enforce justice in a city like Gotham where there's kind of no rules. And I kind of broke it up into the good, the bad, and the great in terms of what I liked. So starting with the good, I just think that the story is good. Like you had said, the soul of Gotham is kind of, especially in the boat scene towards the end, it kind of epitomizes everything that the Joker is trying to do and everything that Batman is trying to save. So that scene
it's a really that scene I like so much. At first I thought it was weird that was the climax.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you're leaving this up to them. But the more you think about it, it's like, that's what this whole series is about.
Exactly.
Is saving that.
Yeah.
Like the Debo saves everybody.
Yeah. It does.
Throws the remote.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the bad, Christian Bale's chin in the Batman costume does not hold up to the square chin that I know and love. Plus, his Batman voice is pretty terrible.
It's so weird because we talked about this, and when I rewatched it, he didn't do that in the first one. And he started doing it in the second one, and then it got worse.
He didn't. No, he does it in the first one.
He does, but it's not
like that.
as bad. It like gradually, like I don't know if he got punched in the throat too many times like, through his Batmaning.
This is very plausible that his voice changed, not like a pubescent
like the actor
thing. Yeah, because as you get older, your voice deepens, and like he may not have been able to do what he did before. Because for sure, it's good. I really like it in the first one. And in this one, it is distractingly weird.
Yeah, and it gets weirder in the third one.
Distractingly weird is like the perfect way to put it. He's trying to like intimidate someone, and he's like gargling at the same time.
Well, I know we're gonna get to
like
it.
Spits out mouthwash. Like, oh, sorry.
It gets, and there's a point in the third one where he's getting strangled by Bane, and he's like,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, he sounds the same, just a little more.
No, I know.
muted.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, you excommunicated by a bunch of psychopaths. It's like, Batman, you truly scary.
I think it's weird that to sum up the bad part of The Dark Knight, it was Batman's character. But that just goes to show how strong the other elements of the movie are.
Yes,
and again, I think Christian Bale does a good Bruce Wayne.
He does, and I think it goes back to like what there hasn't been one that's perfect for both. Except for Ben Affleck.
I agree.
Yeah. And by the way, he looks like a badass when you don't see him in the light and up close.
Yes.
And there's some fight stuff that's cool, and I think this was like the choreography they do where you're only seeing like elbows or whatever. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck was the one where it's like, oh, you can show this guy in a well-lit warehouse.
They did.
And still be intimidating.
And it's like, God damn, this is,
Yeah, I think the Batman costume in The Dark Knight, if you see it, even under like the fluorescent lights in like a parking garage, it's like, that guy is like not tall. He's kind of small.
That is true. That is a good point to make too. Like, I think they really did a good job to try to not make you see that he's a little smaller for all those the comic book fans to be like, he's supposed to be 6'2".
I mean, it's hard to be I don't know.
We've also seen this movie so many times because you start picking it apart. Because I remember when I first saw it and he's beating the crap out of the Joker in that scene. In the interrogation, I was like, I believe.
Oh yeah, of course.
I believe he's terrifying and a hard ass and everything.
But us being comic fans, we watch things way too many times, and then we start picking apart. Like, oh, I saw a fly in that scene that I didn't see before. Yeah. There are no flies in Gotham.
Yeah,
yeah. His suit is a little oddly colored. I feel like this is a weird thing to say because his cape looks kind of velvety. Mm-hmm. It's really dark black, and then the rest of his suit is kind of like a gunmetal-y black.
Yeah.
Wow. That is picking it apart.
That's what I'm saying. But I noticed it this time, and I'm like, why am I noticing this?
I mean,
I don't know.
I think the smallest things, like the texture of the suit, can throw off like the vibe. And again, it's probably because we love that character so much that we're super hypercritical about it.
Well, let's get back to this
I'm
masterpiece.
I'm really trying to like. It's a review, and it's like if I just sit here and talk about how amazing this thing is, it wouldn't be as fun. So I need to let's
think of something. Well, moving on to the great about the movie, the supporting characters and the villains are fantastic.
Except for Rachel.
She was better in this one.
The actress is great.
Well, and see, I feel like she functions really well in the story of this film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I put her technically under the bad with the question mark. And in parentheses, I was like, works well for Harvey Dent's story, though. Which is so, like, I don't know, misogynistic of me to be like, that woman is great while supporting that guy's story.
But in that movie, she wasn't like a damsel.
Yeah.
Like, she stood up to Joker the first time she met him.
Yeah.
And, she was like, stop it. Like, she didn't have to do that. And Batman also told her to hide. And she's like, no.
Yeah.
She just went out there.
She's really bad at following plans.
Yeah, I mean, and she...
Great death scene, too.
Oh,
really,
yeah.
like her and the oil drums, like trying to talk Harvey down when she realizes like
I know
she's gonna die.
Oh, she knew like the second, and I think when we were rewatching it, I was like, yeah, he knows they're going for him.
Yeah.
Because why would they go for this lawyer when the district attorney
Yeah.
is
I actually
in trouble?
think it's the other way. I think that they knew, because I think he thinks that they're going to save her first, because he's kind of coming to terms with the death. And when Batman rushes in to get him, he's like, what? No, you weren't supposed to give. And then she's like, oh, shit. I'm gonna die. She says it differently, but
she's probably like, well, fuck this.
This is a bullshit.
She's probably like, hey, Bruce, you were supposed to comfort me.
I'll never forgive you. Okay, that's too much.
Well,
okay,
they kind of split up. I mean, Gordon was right there when the warehouse blew up.
That's true. They both tried.
Close.
That's true.
Yeah. And also, I remember watching that scene when Joker tells them where they both are, and I'm like, why would you think he would tell you who is in the right location?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot going on in his head. And he's like, I'm just going for the one that he said Rachel was at. But I'm like, that was such a clever thing that the Joker did, because he's like, it'd be so great because I know he loves her. And
it turns out the Joker's quite good in this.
Oh, yes.
Just a little bit. He's okay.
So fantastic.
He's really, really good.
He has, as far as I'm concerned, 2 first scenes in this. He's 2 introductions. Mm-hmm. This is the beginning.
Yes.
The bank robbery.
It's so cool.
But we don't get much there. It's very cool. You kind of see what he's capable of. But the mob scene, you know,
where
he's
the disappearing pencil. I hate that part.
I'm gonna make a pencil disappear.
Yeah,
or whatever. Yeah, and then it's gone.
My favorite part is, here's my card, and it's just a Joker from a deck.
He plays it so straight.
Yeah,
he's not goofing off at all. That's he's actually funny in a very subtle way.
Yeah.
And in some big ways too. But in that way, yeah, so good.
Yeah, but that part where he has Rachel and he's like, let her go, and he's like,
poor choice of words.
Poor choice of words.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely, I had a hard time deciding like which opening scene from the second and third one was my favorite. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard to compare the two, because one is just cinematically and just amazingly introduces a character. The other one does too, the third one.
Yeah.
But this one is just such an interesting kind of, tells you everything that this Joker is going to be within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think when he got cast, it was like when Michael Keaton got cast as Batman, where a bunch of people were like, this is really stupid. Same thing with Heath Ledger. Everybody was mad. No, I mean, almost no one was like, this could work. Mm-hmm. And that one scene, and it wasn't like, okay, he's doing well. It was like, oh, this is perfect and is going to be perfect for the rest of the movie.
Yep.
Yeah,
well, I think it continuously solidified that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like almost every big scene he had, it was like, how can this keep getting better? Like, how does this guy keep doing this?
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts is the monologue he has in his last scene when he's hanging upside down on the building. And it kind of just like enforces not only the philosophies of the Joker and Batman conflicting, but also just like the creepy codependence that they end up forming in the comics. And the Joker is super aware of that.
Well, he was in the interrogation scene too, because he's like, I don't want to kill you.
Yeah.
It's like, you complete me.
Yeah.
It's like, Christopher Nolan actually knew these characters, because he does this, he says their entire comic book relationship in like a line.
Yeah.
He knows the psychology of the characters so well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even when he gets the details so intentionally wrong, he changes the characters so much. He's just right on. Like, I think we'll talk about it later, but Bane, I think, is a good example of that too, where it's like, it's not the same character, but
I think another interesting thing to bring up about this one is how the Joker is the main villain in this one. You have Batman, and you have Harvey kind of playing both sides of the coin, so to speak. And I love how they did Harvey's entire story in one movie. Very well done.
Yeah.
But it was part of Joker's plot.
Yeah.
Like, he was part of Joker's story, which I thought was
Everything
so
was pretty
interesting.
seamlessly woven together.
Exactly.
it's like a triple helix, like the way that these stories get developed. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that's why this movie is so different from the first one, because that is Christopher Nolan. He does all these intricate plot lines that all connect in the end. The only thing that is missing from this Christopher Nolan movie is some weird time wobbly thing.
The movie has 9 acts. And that's probably something. I mean, it's a long. You mentioned when we were watching it. That's pretty impressive. Is that like it never lets up either.
Yeah.
The movie it's a Nolan thing in general, but like in this movie, it's tense the entire time. And even when you have these satisfying climaxes, there's another thing that needs to happen.
Yeah, it's a bank heist. You know, hockey pants, Batmans and stuff, dogs, and then it goes into another thing. And the only thing that you hear, or like there's dialogue that starts like moving the plot, I think Ramirez. I keep wanting to say Renee Montoya. That's who I feel like she is in the movie.
Yeah, obviously.
But she's like, oh, there was blood found on that card and it connects it to these 3 people. And they're like, oh, these are the next victims. And it just keeps going.
Or they capture the Joker and then like, good, we got him. Harvey gets in a car. It's like, he got kidnapped. Immediately he got kidnapped.
Yeah, I mean, it just, the beats just keep going. And the music, I can't stress how much I love this music and Hans Zimmer so much.
Yeah.
Because just the simple line of a violin, just continuously that one note going and building the pressure for this entire movie is insane.
Wait, I thought this was Danny Elfman.
How dare you? Why would you say that to me?
I was evil. I was being evil.
Wait until we do an episode on composers. I have lots of opinions.
You ready, band nerds? It's going to get good.
Hey. Yeah, so that's, I like that.
No, yeah, I think Aaron Eckhart's Two-Face is amazing, and Harvey is amazing. I was kind of bummed that he died at the end, because I like what Two-Face becomes, and he fights the duality, and I don't know, felt like there was more potential in that character than just having him fall off a building.
Yeah, I mean, that his ending was a little like, well, that was quick, but I felt like a little satisfied with it.
Well, I like the monologue that Gordon gives, because Batman has to take the fall for it.
Yeah.
And again, kind of summarizes what Batman needs to be for Gotham as opposed to just a hero.
Yeah, he's never that. Like, he is in a sense, but he's never a superhero in this entire thing.
Yeah.
And this series feels very encapsulated. Like, you don't get a sense, like, so killing Two-Face, it's like, this is just this story. Like, you don't get a sense like he needed to stick around because there's later stories to be told or something like that. It's just like, this is just a perfect sphere kind of thing.
Honorable mention is Lucius Fox. I thought was really great.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Almost certainly.
Oh no.
There's
a moment where the guy, we forgot all about this plotline. We're talking about
squirmy little guy that goes on TV and talks shit about Bruce Wayne.
And he's doing the books for against the Chinese guy who's basically going to launder all this money, and he finds out essentially about all the Batman development.
Yes.
And he's like, Your boss is a billionaire industrialist and one of the most powerful men in the world who beats up criminals with his bare hands. And you're telling me you want to blackmail this person?
Yes.
And then he laughs. And yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and he brought up a good point that only Morgan Freeman could deliver a line like that.
Yeah.
I guess what's amazing about this movie, among other things, is you have like 5 fantastic characters, wonderful stories, and then underneath them, you have a dozen fantastic performances. Gary Oldman's Jim Gordon.
Did you forget who that was?
My head was like, am I saying Commissioner or Jim?
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon is truly, and really is the backbone in certain ways of this movie. I mean, he really is just fantastic. And then also, I know this is such a weirdly deep cut. I love Eric Roberts. Maroney in this so much. I mean, he's not that important, but he's just a nice little like, oh, you're doing this part fantastically, and it's really good.
It's really good. Yeah. And the fact they flipped a fucking semi in the middle of, I think it's Chicago. Yes, Chicago or Boston.
I'm pretty sure it was Chicago.
It was Chicago. Yeah.
Well, I guess that would make sense. Yeah, but the fact they flipped an entire semi with no CGI, that's insane. Like,
we're really just like every single second of this movie, including that one trick.
It's because
it's hard to say something that really wasn't well done with this movie. I mean, I'm sure you can find something, but like his cape being slightly darker than the rest of the
that
suit.
part that you're talking about also, it should suggest like this movie is so atmospheric and interesting and well written, and the plot's well done, the direction's great, and it doesn't need any action set pieces like that. It just doesn't need it, and it has it.
Yeah.
So it's better than it even needs to be a masterpiece.
Yeah.
That's just fantastic.
So Jared, and keep this short.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
What is your favorite moment from this one?
Oh God.
You could pick one.
Yeah, it's gonna be some dead air. Yeah, I think that I know this is weird, but the moment where they look at the Joker in County in the cell,
Yeah, and he's clapping.
He's looking back. It's even before the clapping.
Uh-huh.
He's looking directly at the camera. He's got his coat off, so it's extra purple, and I really think it's terrifying. It's as terrifying as any horror movie
Because you see him in the light.
Yeah, and I think that was the moment where I was like, where the movie really just completely captured me. And I mean, it was so good. But that's if I think about the movie, that's the exact scene that stands out. So.
Kayla,
man.
I know. I know you hate narrowing things down to one.
I know it's hard. If I had to choose, and this is being every time Harvey is on screen,
one.
I know it's so easy to say the Joker, but I think Harvey really impressed me this time. When I was rewatching it the most recent time, I'm guessing maybe then the scene when he has Gordon's family and he was like trying to figure out which one Gordon cared about the most, and it was like, yeah, tell him he's gonna be okay.
That's so fucked up. That whole thing. I was like, and I like how when he picks the kid and he is like, oh, we have a winner. I was like, what are you doing, man?
I know. I was just like, honestly, again, I feel like that moment doesn't stand out unless you watch the journey of the character. But
Two-Face is my favorite Batman villain.
Really?
Yeah.
Every time you say that, it always surprises me.
Yeah.
I think Harvey, there's just a lot of background there that's really interesting.
Yeah, and he always surprises you like that. It's like easy to forget like how fucking terrifying he is, because a lot of him is just like more the district attorney.
Yeah.
And then he'll do something really horrifying like that.
And also how much you kind of can sympathize with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can physically see that he's sick.
Yeah.
And then you can physically see how mentally he is.
I feel like he is a good representation of, again, maybe just like a representative of Gotham itself. And it's like, it can go badly. Look at this. Like, good people.
It's all left up to chance.
Be led to do bad things.
Yeah.
And the foil thing where he's like Batman and that he's got these two personalities that he has to manage that are against each other.
Yeah.
And he's part of the law, but it goes too far. And he's got a cool suit. And it's okay.
Honorable mention though is when he's in the car and he flips the coin and that guy's safe.
God.
And then he was like, he flips it again, and it was like, you driver. Yeah.
Asshole. My favorite part, because I still get
What's
goosebumps.
your favorite part?
I still get goosebumps from watching it, is the deadly game of chicken they play.
Oh, yeah.
After he flips the semi.
Hit me.
Yeah.
I want you to hit me.
Yes.
That was Batman.
God, Jared.
Let's do Batman.
And I noticed watching it this time, I don't think I noticed it before, there's cars, for some reason, still driving on the street and trying to go past this, but Joker shoots at them, and not to hit Batman, but shoots at them to get out of Batman's way, so that way Batman can hit him.
Yeah.
Like, that is crazy. I mean, he is crazy.
That's
but
the Joker.
Yeah, and just the intensity of it, I'm like, I know he's not going to hit him, and I know he's going to, for some reason, not jump off the bike and crash and almost knock himself out, but it just, every time I'm like, oh, is he going to hit him? He's gonna hit.
Okay, but we were watching, it was like, he should hit him a little, like
maybe like stick his leg out,
Trip,
or like a Batman bolo, bat bolo, or something like that. Get him. That's what I say.
All right, we're gonna round out this rewind review with the last one in the series, Dark Knight Rises. Well, I picked this one because I loved everything about it, and I wanted to take it away from Kayla so she can't talk shit. Even though she's here and she can talk shit. But...
when it's my turn. I'll wait patiently.
So the synopsis of this grand conclusion to this trilogy is 8 years after The Dark Knight to this one. Batman's been in retirement. He's become a hermit. He has Wayne Manor again, but for some reason there's sheets all over his stuff, like he's just never unpacked.
Victory has defeated him.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically he's in hiding because they blamed all of Harvey's killings on him, which one thing I really loved about this, kind of side note, is they're still dealing with it. So Gordon has to continuously lie and be like, Harvey was a great man.
Yeah.
He tried to kill his son.
Yeah.
Like just the whole thing, and they're still getting affected by it. I think that's a really good writing, and it still shows the repercussions to something that most movies just kind of like.
Well, of course, most writing, it's like, oh, that my best friend died last Tuesday, but I'm fine now.
Yeah, or like my lover died, but hey, let's see this other person.
Yeah.
I like how you become Rodney Dangerfield. My lover died.
Shut up. So 8 years after it, Batman's a hermit, not doing anything. Alfred's still trying to get him to like do something with his life. And the big threat now is Bane, which I love Tom Hardy as Bane. When I first heard the casting, I'm like, he's intimidating looking, but also like, how is he going to interpret this character?
How is he going to be from South America?
Yeah.
Yeah. They had to completely disconnect that, like watching this movie. He's not the Bane from the comics.
Not from
He's
Santa Prisca.
He has the same name.
He just has the same name and a mask. That's not black and white. But so Bane is the main big bad. The opening scene for that is insane. It's like they took the bank heist and put it in air and just had it. I mean, they dismantle a plane while flying while people are connected to another plane. Hey, who comes up with that, and how did they do it?
It's the second Game of Thrones cameo.
What?
Yeah, there's a first one.
Oh, Littlefinger's in it.
No, Littlefinger, that's the first one. Or the second one, I guess, in this case.
Okay.
The first one, Joffrey Baratheon, the actor, I can't remember his name. He's in the first one.
Oh, yeah.
He's a little boy.
He's that little kid.
Yeah, he's a little kid.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Hey.
He grows up to be a murderer. Anyway, I forgot he was in it. Yeah, Littlefinger's in it.
Was getting caught part of your plan?
Yeah, so he has big plans for Gotham, and that brings Batman out of hiding. But also, there's other characters that get introduced into this one, like Catwoman.
Ew.
Yeah.
I liked her. I thought she did a good, hyper-realistic Christopher Nolan interpretation of this character.
I'll be patiently waiting my turn.
Well,
you can say what you want. I mean, I don't care.
Well, can I say before we get to the just shitting on it or whatever, the criticism against Rachel Dawes as like not needing to be in this or whatever, I think it goes double for Catwoman. So I'm in the middle here. Like, I like Catwoman in this. I like the interpretation. I like Anne Hathaway. She doesn't do anything valuable to this.
It might just be to me, she's the most like comic booky one in this because she just kind of comes out of nowhere, and her outfit's kind of out there aside from the man dressed as a bat. Yeah. But she probably didn't need to be in it, but I just liked the sentiment of it. I just like that Catwoman was in it.
They never call her Catwoman either. No. Or anything like it. You just know that's who she is.
They call her Selena Kyle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or didn't they say like you're a cat burglar or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think Bruce did call her that. Or that was the closest we ever got to cat.
Wink.
Hey, woman.
Yeah.
You look like a cat.
I mean, I thought her scenes were cool. She held her own. I liked her. Kayla, just come on. I see it in your face. Say what you want to say about her.
You mean watching Anne Hathaway try to be sexy and failing for 2.5 hours?
It's about 95% of the male population is going to disagree with you on this scale.
I agree with her.
That Anne Hathaway's not sexy?
I love Anne Hathaway, so let's just get that on the table right now.
Yeah.
But she is like...
Yeah, I
That's
do
like
feel like
really
she
bad
tried.
attempt. It's a really bad try.
I like how that's your interpretation of being sexy.
That's me mimicking her version of being
That's
sexy.
just someone who can't pronounce the word ham.
I don't know. I thought that she was pretty cringy the whole time.
I think, I mean, a lot of people, they're either for her or against her, and I think that's the biggest criticism with this movie.
She killed Bane.
Aside,
that was dumb.
Did she? Yeah, she hit him with the bat
gun.
pod
gun.
Which, okay, I'll just say, that gun can blow holes into semis and brick walls and cement walls. Why didn't it make him explode?
Yeah, that's how they do it.
It's his painkiller mask.
They just keep it PG.
It's PG-13 for the last time.
If you say so. It's rated P.
So anyway, the Bane, I feel like really embodied the physical intimidation. that somebody that playing Bane needed to do.
You're mispronouncing it.
What?
I think it's pronounced Bane.
Oh God. It begins.
This is why you didn't get.
I'm
this
gonna
movie.
stop. I just.
No, but the scene where Batman finally comes back, he's Rusty Bat at this point. He hasn't been Batman for 8 years, and somehow some magical leg brace lets him like walk fine because he's been teared down so many times from his bat escapades. So he's really rusty, and he goes right into it to try to fight Bane. Does not turn out well. He gets his back broken. I think his bat back broken.
Yeah. It works either way.
But that scene I really, really liked because it showed the intimidation of him. There's no music playing at all. And all you hear is just the blows and the hits that Bane puts on Batman. And I thought that was really, really well done.
That was a good moment.
While Catwoman is just standing there.
After watching it again, watching a YouTube clip, because I was listening to the Bane voice. Anyway, no, but he like really forgives her. They never come back to it. He doesn't even punch her in the face, which she deserves because she like set him up to be killed and had his back broken and all of Gotham destroyed. She's a bitch is what I'm saying. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but to be fair, whenever the whole city is turning into chaos and there's looting and all this stuff happening, she says, I like it this way. Like, she kind of likes it like that. I mean, that's fine.
Oh, if you like it, then that's fine. Let's kill everyone then.
But what I'm saying is, like, Batman kind of knew, like, what she was about. She wasn't necessarily good or bad. So for him to trust her in the first place is kind of his fault.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not his fault.
Yeah, but I did like whenever his back got his bat back got broken, that she just like, and that's it. I was like, well, yeah, you could have helped a bit.
Also, all those dudes have guns. Like that he got off light. Like as for all she knew, he was just gonna get shot by 8 dudes at once.
That's true. Well, he didn't.
He didn't.
Yeah. But so anyway, so moving on. The big reveal in this movie is that the villain that's been in the shadows this entire time, no pun intended, is Talia al Ghul, which was her character was Miranda Tate. Turns out they thought Bane was like the son of Ra's. It wasn't. It was really her. She wasn't the son. She was the child of Ra's. But I didn't like her.
Nope.
I felt like that was another character that didn't need to be in it.
What an unintimidating, uninspired interpretation of that character.
Yeah.
And I don't even like Talia in the comics. I'm just like, oh, girl, they did you dirty.
Yeah.
You could have been so much cooler.
Disagree with you guys, but I agree. She's not physically very cool. I like the actress, and I thought that like her.
Well, nothing against the actress.
Yeah.
It's more about them having her in the movie.
I was gonna say, I actually like individually all of the actors in this movie. I just didn't like the movie, or and it's not their fault that the characters are interpreted this way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into that a little bit. Just what did you guys not like about Talia? Because it never struck me. I get the turn that some people were unsatisfied that Bane was a henchman rather than like the main bad guy.
Well, he's a mercenary, so I mean that makes sense.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
So, but what was it about her that you guys didn't like? I'm just.
I mean, kind of what Kayla said. She wasn't intimidating to me at all. Because my stories that I've read of Talia, and anytime she's come up, and in Arrow too, the CW show, she's been in it, and she is super intimidating. She can hold her own. She's an excellent fighter. All of that stuff. I didn't get any of that.
Not only that, when she shows up, it's kind of like, oh shit.
Yeah.
In the movie, it was like, all right.
Yeah, like when they were like, my name's Talia. I'm like, is it?
I know. I was like, ah.
Yeah.
I mean, she wasn't in a black leotard. I'll give you that. Like,
she changed into robes.
Yeah. To get more in the eastern-y kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I think they just kind of cast her more as like a kind of mastermind character as opposed to a baroness.
And I feel like they pick that actress to like make people not on the trail that she's remotely Talia, that she was going to be in it.
From a plot standpoint, they were smart because they were like, let's feign the love interest thing. Yeah. Because remember, she's not just in it. She's like getting close to Bruce. And that way your mind isn't like, who's this extra character floating around? They must be a villain. You're like, oh, they just tried to shoehorn a love interest.
Yeah, because Rachel died and on to the next one.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 8 years later. So he did wait a good amount of time. But the climax, Bane does get taken out pretty quickly compared to when his back was broken to now. He just punches him in the face one time.
Well, they had like a fight during the riot.
They do fight a bit, but I'm just saying he like punches him the right place in the mask, and it like opens up.
Should have done that earlier.
Yeah, that's what I was like, good job. You finally did it. And then my favorite line, or one of my favorite lines, or I laugh at every time, is when he has Bane and he's asking him where the detonator is. Oh my God. And that voice just gets so bad. Oh my God. It's just gargly and really, I'm like, why? This is such
I need subtitles.
It's such an intense part to this movie, and it's like, oh, come on, man. And then Talia just kind of like walks up and like, tick, just pokes him with the knife. Good God. All your energy went into trying to pronounce what you were trying to say to Bane. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I love the movie.
Where's the detonator at? I'm gonna need a minute.
I need a lozenge. Yeah. I hope he didn't have to shoot that scene a lot of times, because that would do some damage to your vocal cords.
No, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought it was a really good conclusion to the entire story. I thought the stakes were super high, like they have been. They just kept building one after another. I thought Commissioner Gordon was just as good, if not had better moments in this one than Dark Knight, which I thought they couldn't top. I mean, it was a
Gordon Levitt's in it for some reason.
Oh, I just forgot about him until you mentioned him.
A lot of extra. That's what
it's kind of hard to forget about him.
Like Catwoman and Robin that they kind of shoehorn in this movie.
Do not say Robin.
He is Robin.
Not.
He's clearly what he was.
That's
doing
his
now.
name. Okay.
And I'm just saying that's what Christopher Nolan was clearly going for. I agree. He's not fulfilling. But he's a cop too, and Robin was a cop. Or I'm sorry, Dick Grayson. Was a cop
after he was Nightwing.
No, I know. I'm just saying that there's this connection, and they imply like, oh, he's going to take up the mantle.
Yeah, we get the connection. We just don't agree with it.
No, I know. But anyway, so what I'm saying is like, I'm saying that too, because like I think that they don't need to be in it. It felt like Nolan was just like, oh yeah, there's these characters. I should probably not have a trilogy.
They should make an appearance before.
Yeah. Also, I mean, him to be. He's the superhero that his name is. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not a secret identity at all. Might just put your last name in there too.
Well, his real name's is like it's Plastic Man. So he had to go.
Yeah, my name is Robin Blake.
Yeah, exactly.
You should have. I remember the collective sigh in the theater when she was like, "Oh, you should go by your name, Robin. It's so nice." Everyone in the theater was just like, "Oh."
Yeah,
This is Officer Johnson, and this is Officer Superman Firestorm.
Yeah, it's another thing in this last one that I felt like he was like, "Oh, this is the last one. Let me like put some stuff in it, maybe." Mm-hmm. It was unnecessary. He could have just had this Blake guy find the Batcave, and that's it. Yeah. He didn't need to connect it to the mythos of Robin or anything like that.
This is kind of fun because I thought you were going to talk good things about the movie, and I was going to have to bring up the good.
Yeah, but see, I think this is just a philosophical issue, because it's the thing is like I recognize all of those things as bad, but none of it. I enjoyed watching the movie so much that like I like. When I left, I was like, it was a movie about Bane. I love it so much.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to him, the scene where he's at the football stadium, and just like when he really makes his mark and he's like, I'm here in Gotham now, he destroys that, makes other things explode, kills Mayor Eyeliner. Mm-hmm. That guy's eyelashes are thick.
Just,
real thick. But I mean, it's just a really cool scene, and it really set up the movie to be this big spectacle. Like, this is the climax of the entire series. I thought it was really well done. I mean, aside from all the other complaints I just had.
Yeah. But, it's got flaws, but it's like, and that's the other thing. It's like you're comparing it to Dark Knight, which is hard because that was a masterpiece. And then if this movie had stood on its own, somehow the other two didn't exist, I would be like, this is one of my favorite comic movies.
Yeah, and I kind of feel bad for Tom Hardy a little bit to have to step in the shoes of somebody that was so beloved of the villain. But he did such a perfect job.
He knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, but you just have to, people that were like, oh, he was better. He's just a different villain altogether. Like, it's just the character itself is literally a different villain, but it's just a different type of villain. Does that make sense?
Do you remember the scene where like they're in the sewers early on and you're just seeing Bane from the back? It's just this gigantic back, and the dude comes up and it's like, we got a guy, and he's like, you put him down here or whatever. I'm not doing the voice, he won't let me anyway. Mm-hmm. and then he like kills him, and then he's like, follow him, and he throws it. It's the most intimidating supervillain moment and it's just a thrown away moment in the movie. that would be the biggest moment of any other movie.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
Or like the scene where that guy was like, I'm in charge and stuff like that. He's like,
oh my God.
You think you're in charge. It's like,
whoa. You think this gives you power over me? Yeah.
I was like, nope. No, it doesn't.
He says he's necessary evil. No, he just puts his hand on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's real good.
Yeah. I like Tom Hardy a lot.
Oh my God.
This is Kayla's all-time favorite movie. If you love Kayla so much, make sure you send her lots of love because of this movie.
Oh my God.
Send her things from this movie. You should love it.
With the freaks online, somebody's gonna send us Tom Hardy's hand
Yeah.
or something like that.
I mean, how much would that go for eBay?
No, don't hurt Tom
How
Hardy.
much would Tom pay to have it back? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So, favorite part of this movie for me, which Kayla's face was like, can't think of the end. Favorite part of this movie, I would have to say, the scene with Bane and Batman fighting in his little hideout.
You picked the best part of the movie.
So
Yeah, no, you're right.
part.
You're right. That's great.
One of my favorite parts. And then also the exile scene where they make people walk out onto ice. I thought that was real intense, real good. This part that I didn't like would have to be Talia. Just the reveal that it's Talia. I thought that was unnecessary. It's just Kayla, go.
What? I wasn't even making a face that time. My favorite moment is probably with towards the end when Alfred is like crying at the graves. Because I love Alfred and I got teary-eyed and I wasn't even emotionally invested in this movie, but that scene was so, I don't know, I just felt so bad for Alfred. I'm so fond of that character that when he was that upset, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And one thing that I guess I wanted to mention and forgot was Alfred leaves.
Yeah.
Like very early in the movie, there's not much Alfred in this movie, and it's because he's like, I can't bury you. I can't do this. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I know exactly.
If you're gonna do it, go do it. And then he ends up having
dead,
to.
I was like, I can't handle this. This is so upsetting. Least favorite part.
One.
The ending with the whole fanfic happily ever after thing.
So that's a funny thing. I remember when this movie came out, everybody was like, "Oh, is this like an Inception type thing? Like, did this really happen?"
Yeah.
And what I think is, well, even though Alfred did mention this cafe, Alfred knew nothing of Catwoman. So for him to like imagine Catwoman with him, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
That just right there is like, no, he's alive and well.
I could be wrong. Didn't Nolan actually say that?
What?
Wasn't this one answered? Because usually if
I think so, actually.
There's like some ambiguity with the directors would be like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
But in this case, I think
after a while it was. Yeah. But a lot of people at first were like, well, the autopilot wasn't fixed and Batman died and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, but he doesn't know who Catwoman is. That's weird. Anyway, go Jared.
Favorite moments, really more about me than anything else. But it's just that part where, I'm just saying the reason I like this is the part where
my favorite moment is when I watched it.
Yeah. I was getting popcorn. I was like, oh, I left the Twizzler in here. I ate the Twizzler out of the popcorn. Okay, my worst part. No, I'm just like, but no, my favorite part I think is so silly, but it's where they're doing the hit on the stock exchange, and the guy's like, there's no money here for you guys to steal. And Bane's like, why are you people here? I'm like, yeah, you get him, Bane. That's a good class conscious point to make.
That's
okay,
hilarious.
Anyway. Yeah, I just really like that. And then worst part is very close to yours actually, is the moment before when the bomb explode, like the idea of like Batman has to take the bomb. And it's like there's this ambiguity about the is it a, what do you call it, like a autopilot or something like that. I don't like that. It's like I don't need this sacrificey moment right now, because it feels like, oh, you're trying to end this with that. It felt plot devicey is what I'm saying. Because it was like this is Batman, he's got billions of dollars. Remember the fry system that he got pulled out in the second one, where I don't know a good way to describe, the weather balloon goes up and the plane snatched him. I was like, fucking do that.
Yeah, I mean, he was a little pressed for time. The bomb's
what I'm
going to go off.
saying is that this is Batman, so there is dozens of ways for him to resolve the bomb situation.
But remember, his whole arsenal was stolen.
He's got $1 billion.
I know.
Yeah, but this is my point, which is that, so anytime in a movie where it's like a plot device kind of thing, where it's like, if I can think of 12 solutions,
Batman
then
should
Bruce
be thinking
Wayne,
of 500.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they tried to explain it in the movie. Is all I'm saying.
No, you're right.
They tried.
My feeling was just like that's the part where I was like, especially since it's the last part. It's like I don't want that.
I would have been happy if Batman died in it though, only because I know
I kind of would have preferred it.
I'm
honestly.
with you.
Yeah,
I
know
him
that.
to die the first part. Sorry. Go ahead.
Shut up.
You're right. Go ahead.
I understand that this is a trilogy on its own. So if he died, I wouldn't expect to see him anymore. Now I have to think about Gotham's now ran by this fake ass Robin. Like, I don't like that feeling.
This is awful, but wouldn't it have been funny if he died? But it was like really slow, and they just showed the whole thing. And it's like blows up, but his leg's gone. And it's like,
okay,
and he can't, and he's just drowning. And I just because it seems like that would be genius. Like okay, sorry.
Jesus Christ. Jared has these fits sometimes. We just have to give him a Hershey kiss, and then he's all good.
Great, Where's my apples?
Yeah, so that is our little celebration. Kayla's face. So that is our little celebration of Batman. It's a little odd, I guess, not talk. We didn't want to go through issue numbers and everything. We wanted to talk about something that we all kind of mutually enjoy and don't enjoy. Just a little discussion. So, let us know what your favorite Batman thing is. Get out there and do it.
And do it.
Yeah. No recommendations. I don't know how to end this episode. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at the Fantom Zone Pod for more podcast updates. Oh no! I actually really like the D&D people. I love you guys. You just have stupid opinions, like thinking Javert is lawful evil when he's obviously lawful neutral.
I hate that.